Welcome to Cory Turner Talks Cars. Today we're going to talk about the zany two-seater 1996 Suzuki X90, a crazy SUV. But before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for helping us grow. Okay, so we find ourselves in the age now where everybody wants an SUV. Why do we want that? Well, they're bigger. You feel safer in them. They're spacious. There's plenty of room for you, for the entire family, the entire soccer team, and all their gear, right? Plus, they're luxurious and they're well appointed, and they're just sharp vehicles that have much more functionality for the family on the go. Ever since the Jeep Cherokee came out, this slow progression to an SUV market has been underway, and we are right in the middle of it now. And like I say, they give you so much more room. Now, unless you're driving like a BMW X6 or the Mercedes GLE, you appreciate the room. Those are more sporty SUVs that are a little more tight, a little more cramped. They don't give you all the space, but they're still SUVs, but they're sports SUVs. If you're driving in that market, then you maybe would have been a customer for the Suzuki X90. If you like your SUV for size and space, that's not going to work because the Suzuki X90 was a two-seater T-top SUV, which goes against everything an SUV is, right? It was actually called a sporty utility vehicle, something like that. So instead of a sports utility vehicle, it was the sporty utility vehicle. It was built off the Suzuki Sidekick, so it shared the same underpinnings of that. And really, it was geared for the U.S. market. So in 1995-96, Suzuki decided they were going to gear this car towards the U.S. market, to a younger U.S. market that maybe couldn't afford the expensive cars, but really liked the Suzuki Samurai, which had come before that. And so they were really trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice. So if you remember, the Suzuki Samurai was a huge success. I think in 1987, I think it sold over 86,000 units, something to that effect. A huge success for them until Consumer Reports did an article that said they were rollover hazards. It kind of destroyed the Samurai. Later, Consumer Reports got in trouble for that. They got their hands slapped. None of that was accurate, but it was too late. So Suzuki was trying to come back, regain that market share that they had. I mean, they really created the mini SUV market with the Samurai, and here they are. They're trying to do it with this zany little SUV, the X90. Now, the X90 was a four-cylinder, 16-valve, inline four. It produced about 95 horsepower. That gave you a 0 to 60 time in 10.7 seconds. I think it could turn the quarter mile. Let's see. Yeah, turn the quarter mile in 17.7 seconds at a top speed of, 76 miles per hour. So this was not it was a sporty utility vehicle, but it was not a sports car. However, it did have 6 inches of ground clearance. It had optional four-wheel drive, and it actually was capable off-road. It gave you the opportunity to be able to still have a nice vehicle that drove well on the road, but also it was capable off the road. Now, it wasn't going to be a Jeep Wrangler. It wasn't going to be something like that, but it did have four-wheel drive, and it actually performed extremely well. You didn't have switch-on-the-fly four-wheel drive. You had to come to a stop, but it did have auto-locking hubs and a center console four-wheel drive lever, so it actually was pretty easy to put into that. The interior, where the Suzuki Samurai was, I don't know, I almost liken it to a tank. It wasn't really a creature comforts car. I saw in one article, they said it was like driving a tractor. The X90, even the Sidekick, but the X90 was a little more refined inside. It did have a younger feel. It came with cloth seats that had some crazy patterns on it, really geared towards a younger market. And it came in at the two-wheel drive was around $13,500 in that area. Four-wheel drive pushed you between $15,500 to about $16,200, which still was priced at where they were trying to hit. It was priced right, but still gave you a really good car. Automatic windows, air conditioning. I think you could add a dealer CD changer if you wanted to, but it came with a tape deck standard, which that's pretty cool. Climate controls, all of that. It had T-tops on top. So the T-tops, they were easy to remove. You could pop the T-tops off. Each side came with its own bag. You'd put it in the bag, and you could secure that over the spare tire. And lock that down so it was in the trunk. There wasn't much space behind the driver's seat, behind the two seats. Maybe you could put a briefcase in there, but you had a little bit of space in the trunk. So how did the X90 do? Why haven't we seen more two-seater SUVs? Well, it didn't do well. Say it didn't do well. It's probably no shock to anybody. When you look at it, it is such a bizarre vehicle. I think it's cool looking. As you guys know, I like all the bizarre, crazy vehicles out there. I think it's cool looking. The first one I ever saw had a Red Bull can on it. It was a marketing vehicle for Red Bull, and it had a big Red Bull can on it. It was painted all the Red Bull colors. I thought that was super cool. I'm a Red Bull fan. It's a bizarre vehicle to start with. It's just a two-seater vehicle, so it definitely had to appeal to a younger market, right? But then it was also an SUV, and I think it was a little bit ahead of its time in those regards as far as the two-seater SUV market. Well, I guess it was the only time. We still don't have really a two-seater SUV market. That would be pretty crazy, waiting for that Lamborghini two-seat SUV to come out. But anyway, so you've got a unique, bizarre vehicle. I think as far as its styling, minus the how the roof line went and all of that, it had good looks for its time. It was nice and curvy, and that's definitely a 90s vehicle. It had that going for it. But here's the problem. I've got some of the sales figures here, so let's look at that real quick. So it really launched in Japan in 1995. It hit the United States, the rest of the world in 1996. In 1996, they sold 7,205 units. Okay, so their targets were much higher than that, but 7,200 units. Okay, it's a new vehicle finding the market. All right. The next year, 1997, it dropped to 2,087 units. Okay, so that's a little disappointing. And then in 1998, it was 477 units. So in that last year, it wasn't even able to push 500 units. So to say it fell short of its targets, yeah, it wasn't received like they hoped it would be. I don't know what the Sidekicks numbers were. That would probably be pretty good. I should look that up. I'd like to see where it fared, but it fared much better. It was an SUV that had a lot more utility when it came to using it. So the X90 didn't. And so the X90 did not survive, right? That last year they only made 477 of them. I looked at them at the time. I actually looked at one. As we talk on the show, I always look about buying something. But I actually was in Irving, Texas, across from like the Irving Mall. And they had one, I think it was a little Suzuki shop over there. And I actually went and looked at it. I sat in it. I really thought about it. But I think at the time, it just didn't fit my needs. It was a unique vehicle. Now I'm like, it might be fun to have just as a talking piece. It's such a unique car. There's not that many of them out there. I mean, what did we say? There's less than 10,000 of them really sold here in the U.S. for sure. So there's not a lot of them out there. But it is based off the Sidekick. So there still are parts for the car. So there was a lot of Sidekicks made. So it wouldn't be as hard to fix up and repair. I did find one for sale. It was on Hemmings. I'm going to put that link in the description for you. So you'll have to check that out. And I think they want $5,500 for it. It has about 82,000 miles. That's not crazy numbers to me at all. Motorweek did a great show on it years and years ago. I'll find that link and put that in the description as well. So what do you think about the Suzuki X90? Is it too crazy? Is it too weird? Would it kind of be a cool second or third vehicle just as a talking point to, if you like to put weird cars in your garage? I've had all the smart cars and all that. Let me know what you think. Put that in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. If this one was closer to me, the one for selling Hemmings, I think it's up in Utah or somewhere, I would definitely go look at it because I'll be honest with you, if it was the four-wheel drive, it's one that I'm kind of interested in looking at for sure. So if you've known someone that owned one, leave me a message. If you've ever wanted to own one, leave me a message. If you found some out in the wild and took some pictures, send those to me. I want to share those for sure. So remember to like, comment, and share. Please leave me a comment. Let's talk about cars tomorrow.